Hello and welcome to episode 3 of the Bunnyhop, proudly powered by Cannondale. Coming up this month, the first women's World Tour stage race of the year, all the headline action from Burgos. Mermaids, murder and more. Joss Lowden takes us on a scenic spin in the peaks. We peer inside the mind of Cecilie Uttrup Ludwig in this month's Something About Me. And we cast ahead to the mighty Muur as the famed wall looms large in the Lotto Tour of Belgium. Well, it's great to be back here in the Bunnyhop studio once again, and alongside me is ex-pro cyclist and someone that was tearing up the motor racing circuit, aged just 6, Amy Roberts, and alongside both of us is Rouleur writer and former jazz baritone, Rachel Jary. Hello, both of you.
Made that sound a bit better than it actually was, to be honest. Some of the time I was miming along because I wasn't really sure what I was doing. But
So what is a jazz baritone?
It's like a mini tuba, so yeah, you have to sit down, play it. Like kind of the bass of the orchestra rather than like the higher pitched instruments.
I'm very intrigued by it. It sounds absolutely incredible. Now, Amy, I mentioned there, aged just 6, I've seen this amazing photo of you, like herring round this tight circuit on a motocross bike. Tell us a bit about that and how it all started.
Yeah, well, I think the picture makes it look a bit quicker than what it actually is. But
I'm so modest here.
it was what my dad did. My dad did motocross, and then when we were a lot younger, well, me and my sisters, I started off racing, and then my middle sister joined a few years later, and that's what we started doing really. Just going to races every weekend on the motocross bikes.
As always, the very important questions out the way at the top of the show. Well, there's been absolutely no shortage of fantastic race action so far and dramatic finales, and the first Women's World Tour stage race of the year was no different. The Vuelta of Burgos, of course. Let's take a look. The final climb of Stage 1 saw Shirin van Anrooij's early solo escape snuffed out when Team Bike Exchange's Grace Brown launched a blistering attack, joined by the on-form Elise Chabbey of Canyon SRAM. SD Works made sure the move was covered, sending Niamh Fisher-Black in pursuit, while Trek Segafredo, with no one up front, led the pursuit from the pack. The trio held on though, and when Brown opened up, she was a cut above her companions, scoring a fine victory to take the first leader's jersey of the race. A 3-up break dictated Stage 2. Heidi Franz of Rally, Cypriot Antri Christoforou and Anastasia Chesina going clear, with the Ali BTC rider chipping away on the final climb. The Russian crossed the finish line in Via Caio alone, 1 minute and 11 seconds ahead of the bunch, with Trek Segafredo's Amelie Diedrichsen just edged by Alice Barnes of Canyon SRAM. Stage honours to Chesina, while Elise Chabbey took the race lead. Stage 3 all came down to the race's big hitters duking it out on the short, sharp rise to Ojo Guarenya. Chabbey's teammate Kasia Niewiadoma lit the fuse on the run-in, but Cecilie Uttrup Ludwig burst fourth, leaving her and an elite front group containing the likes of Anna van der Breggen and Annemiek van Vleuten in her wake. Just rewards for FDJ, who'd been active throughout the stage, and a first ever Women's World Tour win for Ludwig. The final stage saw Fisher-Black in the race leader's jersey, and on the final climb up to Lagunas de Nela, it was her SD Works teammate Demi Vollering who set a pace that only Van der Breggen and Van Vleuten could live with. They caught and passed an earlier break of Clara Koppenberg and Katrin Allerud. Van der Breggen looking smooth as she turned the ratchet further, leaving her and Van Vleuten to fight out the final. The latter forced to come the long way around to the last uphill bend, and in the end the Movistar rider couldn't match the world champion. The stage and the overall to Van der Breggen. Well, Rachel, so much to talk about. It's been such a packed month of racing, so much going on.
Yeah, it's really been great to see the start of stage racing as well. And we've seen like such a good rivalry between like Van Vleuten and Van der Breggen as the two like top climbers. But yeah, I think like we saw Alenis Sierra win one of the Navarra races, and that was a bit of a surprise. And smaller teams like hers, like AR Monex, they've like really been punching above their weight against like World Tour riders, and that sort of shows the strength and depth that they have, you know, bringing things back, prepared to chase, to set her up for a sprint. And yeah, that's been like really impressive to see. And yeah, even riders like Van Vleuten, like her Movistar team have been supporting her so well. They've got like Katrina Allerud, some really strong riders who are there for her in the mountains, which is something we know how strong she is and that she can go solo, but actually like we've seen really strong team performances from Movistar, which has been really impressive.
Amy, what's your experience of riding with Annemiek?
No, I think she's come on so much in these last few years where, you know, we all know the training that she does and, you know, how much she puts into it. And that's obviously really helped her these past few years. So in my experience, she was always there, you know, in the top 10, but she's definitely had a breakthrough the past few years.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, we were treated to that very famous battle we've become familiar with Van der Breggen and Van Vleuten. I just love seeing the difference in their riding style because Van der Breggen always looks so calm.
Yeah, I know, they really are like such different riders. Van der Breggen's got that really smooth cadence, like really smooth pedalling style, where Van Vleuten's really sort of shows that she's really going for it and like she's suffering. SD worked with Vollering at the end there. They really did have sort of numbers to play the game, which definitely helped Van der Breggen in the end.
Yeah, and Amy, what did you make of that dynamic yet again with Vollering and Van der Breggen? Because we've seen that play out both ways around so far this season.
I think for Vollering, having Anna Van der Breggen is a really good thing for her. You know, I think it's probably helped her a lot to come on this year. And like we were saying, how Vollering is that sort of punchy, attacky sort of rider, and Anna can sort of rely on that, you know, wear out the other riders, and then she's sort of there to you know, bring it on at the end. But it also works both ways, so I think it's really nice to see them working together.
And there must be a lot of riders, of course, still racing that you keep an eye on that you did either have as teammates back in the bunch or indeed rivals. Elise Longo-Borghini would have been your teammate back at Wiggle.
Yeah, I spent a few years with Elise, and in the past few years she's sort of really come out of her shell, I think. She's got a lot more confidence. She really believes in herself, is what I can see from her, I think. She's got Georgia obviously as DS, and she relied a lot on Georgia when she was racing, but I think it's probably helped her a lot and gives her the confidence.
Well, someone else we need to talk about is Cecilie Uttrup Ludwig taking stage 3 in Burgos. And for me, you know, it's not to say she's not always up there. She's had plenty of podiums, hasn't she? But officially, her first Women's World Tour victory there.
The field at that race, it was the best riders in the women's peloton. She had Van der Breggen and Van Vleuten, Longo-Borghini all behind her, so she knows she can beat them on her day, which I think is going to give her like such good confidence. I think it kind of helped for her that she had a teammate up the road that day, so she didn't have to sort of commit to chasing every single thing down. And now she's got that first win. I think that will really give her some great confidence, and maybe, yeah, she might race a bit more tactically aware. Now she's not under that sort of pressure.
And what is that like when you've got the pressure on your shoulders that your team has worked for you all day and you know, right, the pressure's on now to finish this?
Cycling is such a massive team sport. You know, even if people don't realise that, it really is. And you rely a lot on your teammates. So, yeah, the pressure to finish it off is huge. It helps to have that good team behind you and gives you that bit of boost for the end.
Well, time to take a quick break from talking about the race action for just a moment because it's time for our postcard feature. And this month, the Bunnyhop headed up to the beautiful Peak District to discuss mermaids, spreadsheets and accidental hour records with Drops-Le Col's Joss Lowden. This is nice.
Hello! You brought the sun with you.
I know, it's like a tiny little patch though, isn't
From
it?
the south, thank you.
So where are we off to today? What have you got planned?
So we're basically on top of the peaks. You can just see for miles up here. So I like to come, ride these roads. You've got like a real feeling of being up high. There's a pool that has an old witch tale about a mermaid that and people used to disappear on these pools. So I think we should go and check that out.
Wow, okay.
There's loads and loads of hills.
Good to have the warning.
Yeah.
No, it's stunning. Shall we head off?
Yeah. Oh, little lammies! Hello! I've only been here just over a year, really. It was actually, I think it was genuinely the first day of lockdown in March 2020 when I moved in with Dan, so my other half, and we hadn't really anticipated being, I suppose, based in England at that time. We thought we were going away, we'd be racing. We had like quite a busy calendar, but only ever lived here during lockdown, really. I came to Derbyshire for the first time when I was 10 on a school trip. It's really funny to see like my 10-year-old self visiting all the places that I now ride through in these villages. But I think we're going to be nearly at the Mermaid Pond. There was a guy called Joshua, and he lived in the village, and he was dating this girlie. She flicked him, basically. And then he told everyone that she was a witch. But then, as they were drowning her, as she was going under, she cursed him. 3 days later, his body was found, and he was dead.
That's like a really dark tale, isn't it?
It's a really dark tale, and it's been the site of like quite a lot of murders over the years. Yeah, it's really dark. And they also thought it was meant to be the deepest pond or something in the UK, and actually it was only 1.8 metres deep. So I don't know what to believe up here.
I'm literally like, this wind's gusting me, and I'm like,
oh my God, it is absolutely blowing.
It didn't take me long to suggest we got in the crew car, did it?
That was absolutely mad. I wanted to show you this lookout because it's absolutely stunning.
Not everyone will know that you've kept on working.
2018, I think, I took a sabbatical, so I took 3 months off completely and just went out to Spain, trained for the winter, and then sort of hit the race season. I was racing for Story at the time. The following season, it looked like, cycling is going to be good again, and I'm going to have a career out of it, so decided to work part-time.
What is your other job?
Data analysis.
Does it in any way make you more objective when you're analysing your results?
I feel like I'd like to be, but I think I don't. Like, even when I'm road racing, you're thinking, looking down, and you might look at what light power you're doing, and you're thinking about what other people are doing, and then what does that mean, and am I going to be able to get away? The thing that's interesting about like road racing is that there's just so many other factors. It's not all about the numbers. Yeah.
The wind's definitely not going anywhere.
It's not going anywhere, but the sun's out.
It is.
Should we go for it?
We should crack on.
Yeah, okay. Whoa.
You mentioned your partner Dan Bigham, who shares a lot in common when it comes to cycling.
Yeah, it's pretty handy because he's obviously time trials, road races, track.
Am I right in thinking that you are both data crunchers though?
He's more nerdy than me.
No, I was not saying that.
I thought I was nerdy. I thought I had spreadsheets. And then I met him and I was like, oh my God, this is like, makes mine look really amateur. I think we fell in love over an Excel spreadsheet. Cool. When I was living in London, I thought I drank too much, and so I started recording in spreadsheet like how many units of alcohol that I drank every week. I used to go out hot. Like, I liked a festival. I liked a good night out into the early mornings.
Girl after my own heart there.
Yeah, and when I started sort of racing at a slightly higher level and training a bit more, I couldn't like stay out late quite as much as I had done in the past. Cafe stop! Woohoo!
Lovely, thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Monumental.
So I'm really interested to know, how did the idea to break the hour record come about in the first place?
Yeah, Dan's fault, and I'm blaming him. I'll probably be cursing him when I'm doing it. And Dan's sitting there with his spreadsheet, and he's like, you could do this. I reckon you could have a go at it. You can do this power, puts these numbers in. He's like, I reckon it's a go. And I was like, Did this test run, and I went further than the world record. So it wasn't like I broke the world record, but it did a really good long run. Then it turned into let's turn it into an official record. And then, that's where we are now, really. we've got a summer full of races to do before I do the actual real attempt, which is going to be at the end of September.
I'm laughing because you're so modest when you talk about it. You're just like, and then it was a world record.
It was quite a good ride. Yeah.
I'm fascinated in the psychological side though. I mean, for that hour, like what is going through your head?
When I did the practice run, for the first 35 minutes, it was really easy and it was like really cruisy, and I was like, oh, this is so great. I could do this for like 2 hours. I'm going to set the 2-hour world record. And then in the space of like 3 minutes, it went from being like that to like, oh my God, I'm going to die. I'm going to die here on this track. This is horrific. I'm stuck. It was like being on a roller coaster and not being allowed off. And you almost have to like take the emotional side out of it and just believe it. And then it does work out, funnily enough. Maybe. I hope it does. Touch wood.
Something I've also heard you mention is when you'd be looking to have your last season.
I think I thought that this would probably be my last big season, because we want to have children. Because I lost 2020 and because 2021 is going pretty well, I just don't know how I'm going to be able to stop, or when I'm going to want to stop and do that. And then, I mean, it's not as easy for a female athlete as it is for any of the guys. Dan seems to think that we're going to have 10 children. I think he thinks at least like a team pursuit team.
Does it affect how you then approach each season?
I guess I want to make the seasons count, but I also sometimes wonder whether there's less pressure on me, because I'm not 20 and wanting to secure a world tour team and build up this massive career. Like, I really, really want to race to enjoy it. And yeah, I don't know, I think I'm just a little bit more about racing for the now opposed to building up to what it could be.
Thank you for a stunning ride today and for being my first indoor tea date.
Yeah, it was a treat.
It's been such a treat. And what's next for you?
Hopefully Le Course and Tour de Féminine and a summer of racing.
Can't wait to see you in action. Thanks again, and well, see you soon.
See you soon, thank you.
Well, there were even more brilliant stories behind the scenes that day, and I love that Joss finished them all off by going, I actually don't know if that's actually true, because she's only recently moved to the area and is learning about it. So that was a lot of fun up there. But have you raced with Joss?
I remember doing a British race with her. We were actually off the front together in that race, so that's how I remember her, and I remember her being really strong. So yeah, it's really nice to see her making that step and being on drops and doing so well in all these races.
Yeah, well, she's got the team pursuit squad to give birth to first, of course, hasn't she? If Dan gets his way. But she has been phenomenal, hasn't she, Rachel, this season?
Like Amy said, she was just racing in the UK scene only a couple of years ago. So, to go to Europe and get the results she's got, like 5th in Brabantse Pijl, however long she plans to carry on doing it for, she's got a really good future ahead of her.
Well, best of luck, of course, to Joss as she looks towards her official hour record attempt later on this year. But for now, let's focus on a rider that we've seen in action more recently in Burgos, and that's Elise Chabbey. And she's just been so attacking, hasn't she?
Yeah, I mean, she's been so impressive. She's been attacking throughout the whole season, but then it really paid off in that first stage in Burgos when she got into that move off the front. And it was just really nice to see a rider who's been so aggressive and has really played a team role have the chance to wear the leader's jersey. I mean, she was working for New Adoma in the end, but she had a bit of time in the jersey and had some really good results. So yeah, it's good to see that for her.
And another example of something we alluded to earlier, of the dynamic within teams and having more options now with the strength in depth. And actually, Omar Shapira as well was doing a lot of long stints on the front in Burgos, and what a brilliant team as a whole in that race.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they've shown they've got so many strong riders who can do a great job at setting Cassia up for the final climb, which is what she's so strong at. I think that they've been really impressive, and they're really starting to come into their own, not only in the climbing races but also in the sprints, with Alice Barnes getting some really good results. They've really worked on their lead out, and it's really starting to pay off.
It certainly is. And of course, a lot of people won't necessarily know that Elise was actually working 12-hour shifts as a doctor during COVID. I mean, that's amazing.
I know, it's crazy. And to think, what she's doing now in these races, and she's a doctor, you know, that's just impressive in itself. She's obviously a woman of many talents.
Indeed, and actually, this isn't her first sport either.
Yeah, I know. I think she was a kayaker. I think she's hoping to go to the Olympics for cycling rather than kayaking this year. So I think she said she's hoping for selection for that. And if she does get to go to the race, we'll be sure to see her like attacking in the early stages.
And this is her 4th season now in the pro peloton, isn't it? And from that point of view, you know, she's in such a good position and she's just in her element at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, she's still relatively new if you look at the World Tour and that side of things. And it takes a long time to learn everything that goes on with the tactics and how the teams work and how the racing works. So yeah, it's really impressive, and it's really good to see how she puts herself into the races. You know, she's always in the breaks, she's always trying, she's going, she's coming back, she's going again. Yeah, that will soon start paying off, and I think we've started to see that pay off for her, and yeah, she'll get into moves and that will go to the end, and yeah, it's great to see.
Such an asset and in such fine form as well. You know, what do you think has made her be able to be in such a good position at this point?
You know, a lot of riders maybe during COVID would have trained a lot, and she, rather than sitting there worrying about when the races were going to happen, she really channeled that energy into something else, which was, you know, working as a doctor. So maybe whilst other riders might have maybe overtrained, she's really seems to be coming into form at the right time this year, which, yeah, she's really seemed to have made her training like work perfectly for her, so it's really good.
Now, the Muur is a climb synonymous, of course, with the Tour of Flanders, but it's also been a battleground for many years on the Gerardsbergen stage of the Lotto Belgium Tour. This year, for the first time, the mighty Muur and dreaded Muur will host a race finish. For now, though, let's take a little look back at how the stage was won in 2019 by Corinne Rivera. Now, Amy, we're on the start of the climb at the moment, as we can see here. What is this like to actually climb in a race scenario?
It's a lot longer than what people think, and you know, it starts climbing from quite a bit before you get here, so your legs are already screaming, and then you've got the worst part to come. So yeah, it's definitely a tough one. You've got to be prepared, you've got to be in the right position, and I mean, this is just the start really, before it gets to the steep and the really tough cobbled section.
We can see that this is the select group, but they would have had to be so on it with their positioning earlier in the race when it was a bigger bunch, and lead out trains into the bottom of that climb are going to be really crucial. So yeah, I think once you kind of get in that select group and you're off the front, it gets a bit easier, but the actual beginning stages of the race are going to be really important. We have the likes of Lotte Kopecky, Corinne Rivera, who are really suited to this sort of terrain. You can just see them powering over it so well. You need to be able to, you know, sit in the saddle and push the power down. And I think with it finishing at the top of the Muur, that's going to be really important this year, because you're not really going to be able to get out the saddle and sort of sprint round someone last minute. It's going to be about powering away from the bottom of the climb really, and making sure you stay away.
Yeah, how much is it going to change the whole race, having it finish on the top of this mighty climb?
I think that last bit is so hard. You're really going to have to gauge your effort and make sure you've got that little bit left. And like you say, you can't get out the saddle. You know, you've just got to really power through. But I think it's probably good. They'll like that they're finishing at the top. You know, they know they've not got anything else to do afterwards, so they can really give it all.
That's a good point. You want to be laying down at the top of that climb, actually. And let's talk about Corinne Rivera. Rachel, talk us through how she eventually takes the stage.
You can't really accelerate so suddenly on the cobbles, so it was important for her to go for a long one. She managed to hold them off really impressively with that long range power that she's got.
So impressive. You can see that little look over her shoulder, just like, yes, it's in the bag. And a very smooth victory salute as well, which I can imagine. I mean, I've not had this problem, but doing that on cobbles, Amy.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't say I've done it either, but she does it well, no.
I know, as ever, we don't have confirmed start lists in front of us for the Tour this year, but any predictions?
I think Lotte Kopecky is definitely a good pick. She's really suited to the roads in Flanders. Emma Norsgaard as well had a really good classic season, and definitely be a different sort of crowd of riders than what we've seen in the hillier races in Spain, because yeah, the climbs are a lot more punchy, a lot shorter, and a lot more about power than sort of long sustained efforts.
Well, a very timely something about me this month. We've already seen Cecilie Uttrup Ludwig with her arms aloft in the Vuelta of Burgos, but now it's time to take a deep dive into her mind.
My next holiday destination is probably Grenoble, where I'm about to meet a crazy monkey who lives in Grenoble. The thing I miss the most when I'm away from home is rye bread or the pick and mix candy in Denmark. It's just the best. The hashtag I live by is happy head, fast legs. That's a good one. Since childhood, I never grew out of, I think watching Disney films. I still love Disney, and there's still some bangers there. I love learning more about how the body works. It's pretty interesting subjects. The last thing that made me laugh was probably Maëlle doing something crazy because she's a crazy girl. Weirdest thing I've won in a bike race was shampoo and conditioner, which was super nice, but they were actually pretty good. But yeah, it was pretty weird. I have a collection of shoes. I love shoes. More of them is good. The most awesome ice cream sundae would be chocolate. I am definitely a chocolate girl. The skill I most want to master is doing a wheelie. Definitely doing a wheelie. I can't walk past a shop without going in if it sells candy, because I'm a candy girl. I have a sweet tooth. My spirit animal is probably a tiger or a lion. My signature dance move involves using my body, especially my ass.
Love her. I think I'm going to have to step up my dance moves, that's for sure, after watching that. Well, that's almost all we've got time for in this episode of the Bunnyhop. But before we go, as ever, I've got one final question for each of our studio pundits. Every month we throw that wide open to our bunny hoppers across social media. And this month it comes from @NicolaJHogan over on Instagram. And she asks, now, if you could create a brand new Olympic event, which is cycling combined with another sport, what would it be? Amy?
Oh gosh, that's a tough one. I think because I love skiing, I'm going to have to say skiing. I'm not sure how we would quite combine it.
You're down the ski slope, on the slippery ice, what could go wrong?
I don't know, maybe we can put skis on bottom of a bike or something, and then you'd have maybe a little bit more control.
Let's park that one for now. I think health and safety could be a little bit of a risk. But yeah. I do love the premise. Rachel?
I think I'd go for like combining cycling and hurdling, because we kind of have that in cyclocross already, like people bunny hopping the hurdles. So I'm kind of picturing it like on a racetrack, you're sprinting in between and hopping each of the hurdles.
I love the theme as well, in line with the whole show. Absolutely love it. Amy, Rachel, it's been such a pleasure having you here in the Bunnyhop studio. Thank you so much. Well, we'll be back next month, of course, but in the meantime, don't be a stranger, be a bunny hopper and give us a follow over on Instagram using the handle thebunnyhop_cc. In the meantime, keep bunny hopping, keep watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.